Good morning. Sitting here after doing my morning ritual in a very quiet place in my mind, and what I'm contemplating is the observation that so often we resolve to make big changes in our lives. Like, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to take care of my body, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to stop whatever habit it is that we're trying to stop. And we delay that decision to start because we expect it to be a huge step, just a total wholesale change in the way we're living. Um, and of course, that feels overwhelming or daunting or something that we need to schedule and create time to do. And in a way, we're right, but in a way, by delaying it and treating it as one big step, we are practicing our old ways, and we're practicing in our bodies the fear of taking that big step. And I've talked in my blogs and in my newsletters about how what appear to be big steps from the outside, when you look at people who've made big changes or transitions successfully and sustainably in their lives, have actually been the culmination of many small steps. And so, yes, maybe it's a big decision to decide to bring your life in a certain direction, but the steps are the tiny little ones that you do consistently every day, and the ones that you do. Starting with that little thought, then how do you use the energy of that thought to propel your actions in very small ways? And this is one that I work on, definitely, and that's why I'm contemplating it, because I've always been a person who went for big goals and relentlessly pursued them with a lot of discipline, and never really acknowledged the small steps along the way, because what everyone else cared about were the big ones, the degrees, the jobs, the next move, the next milestone that everyone else could grasp. And when I began to do this work of being more reflective of internally what was going on, I began to observe that the shifts that I was making internally were actually much more important to me and were driving these things ultimately. And they were very hard to explain to people. They're the kind of thing that most people's eyes glaze over at cocktail parties if you try to talk about this stuff. And I had to really get over that too, which is that this is not a popular discussion topic among quote unquote most people, at least the people I was surrounding myself with at the time. So back to big steps versus small steps. There's a balance between having big goals in your mind, setting those big goals so that you have a direction you're headed in, and then releasing from the outcome of when and how you will get there, and instead looking at, okay, if I'm headed in that direction, from where I am today, what's the very next step that I can take today? And often it's much, much smaller than we even realize. And this is where some guidance and some feedback can help in terms of creating your own steps and then testing yourself to say, is that a small enough step? Because believe it or not, most of us don't err on the side of setting too big of a goal. I think we have that in our mind. I think we all aspire to big things. It's how do we break it down, and how do we carry ourselves in our actions, in our bodies, not just in our minds, talking about it, reading about it, writing about it, but what are we embodying and our whole bodies with what we do, how we, even our posture, how we carry ourselves in the world. What are we doing every single day to really train ourselves? So my encouragement is to look at the very small steps and what's the very next thing you can do today and tomorrow and the next day. And I'm going to talk in another video about how to define success for those steps, because that's another important thing I've learned, which is what you have to learn about yourself and what motivates you in terms of your action style. But start with the small and don't delay. Do something today. That rhymed. Have a great one.